How's it going? My name's Edward, and today I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of installing and using a F1 style flashing fourth brake light for a 2013 to 2017 or 2018, depending on market, Subaru Crosstrek. Huge thank you for Subi Supply Co. and Tyler. Check out subisupplyco.ca. I'll have a link down in the description. Fantastic source for all your parts and accessories, and excellent customer service to work with. Originally, the mounting bolts that it came with weren't actually long enough, because the Crosstrek actually has a slightly different bumper mounting location than the VA WRX and STI models that you more commonly see these lights on. And he was fantastic in terms of just helping out, saying he's going to do a quick update on his site, and just taking feedback on which bolts I found. I was able to get a slightly longer bolt. It's a M6 by 30 metric machine screw from Canadian Tire for like $2, so no big deal there. See the light installed right here. It fits in pretty nicely. There does leave a tiny little bit of a gap at the bottom here. That is normal. Just say it's for aerodynamics or something. You are going to need a few tools that I consider the minimum you want, just to make your life a lot easier and the install a lot cleaner. You want a 10mm ratchet. You're going to want a nice wire stripper. You can just do this with like a knife or a pair of pliers, but the wires that you're going to be stripping are so small that that's just going to make your life hard. Some electrical tape or heat shrink, and just to keep my wires protected, I used some just push-in protective. When I first approached this, I had watched a YouTube tutorial, and they just made it look really easy. All you had to do was kind of come in here into your trunk behind the, or in front rather, of the tail light, and just pop out a panel, and you had pretty much easy access to your brake light harness. However, when I started doing that, I found that you had to remove basically this whole panel here, which does have an airbag on it, which is not something you really want to be messing with. You basically have to take everything out of your hatch, from the hatch gate itself right up to the back of your rear doors and rear windows, and I just wasn't really enthusiastic about doing that. The thing you're going to want to do is just remove your tail light. It's really dead simple. It's just 2 bolts, but all you want to do is kind of one hand here, one hand come somewhere around here, and you just pull, and yeah, there it goes. It's already off. So what you're going to find when you've opened this up is here's your connection in. You can just push down here, pop that right out, and then you have freedom to work on this without worrying about the taillight itself. What you're going to find is this whole wiring harness for your taillight is all going to be wrapped in this. It's basically just electrical tape all the way from this fitting right up to this connector here. And there's going to be 3 wires coming off your brake light, red, green, and black. This black one here is dead. Ignore that. I'll show you where what we're doing with that later. But all you have to do is just use, I found just like a pocket knife, preferably something that's got a bit of a serrated edge, so you can just work on a small area at a time. Cut back enough of this this covering to give you clear space to work. And then once you've done that, you're going to expose the wires. I have this connected so it's always on with your running tail lights, and then flash and solid when you hit your brakes. There is another way to wire it up, but I've forgotten right now. So what I'm going to do is I'll link to the video that has the description of how to do it the other way. But once you've exposed the wire or wires that you need to work with, just very carefully grab them with one of these and just separate. But what you do, when I first came into doing this, I found that if you look down through here, you can actually see daylight. Like this is actually exposed. So once you've physically installed the brake light, attaching the basket, you're just going to feed the wires up, and that's where this tool here comes in really, really handy. Again, I would recommend just putting some protective wrap on your around the wires, just for weatherproofing. But once you have the wires up here, all you need to do is just kind of splice them on. I just simply wrapped them around the existing wire once I'd bared it with the wire stripping tool. Applied some electrical tape to just keep the connection all together. In terms of the physical installation of the light itself, we're going to get down on the ground, which kind of sucks because it's wet today. Here you can see the light in its basket. These are the 2 screws that I mentioned that didn't work originally that I replaced. And here you can see what I did with the ground. Originally I was going to try to ground the ground wire to one of the bolts that holds the taillight in, but those have a very, very tight tolerance. They're really not designed for that, having anything extra in there. And that just wasn't working for me, so I ended up just cutting the ground wire short, putting on its own section of protective wrap here, and that's just grounded out to this bolt which supports the exhaust heat shield. Depending on how you have your exhaust set up, this might not be the ideal setup for you. I believe a stock muffler comes much more into this space, so you might not be comfortable grounding it and having that wire that close to the heat source. This is fine, but if you have a stock muffler or a larger, bulkier axle-back muffler, this might not be ideal. But there's a lot of different options. You've got another bolt over here, and you've got all kinds of like chassis bolts just underneath the car. So you've got quite a bit that you can do to just figure out where you want to ground it to. You're all finished your splice. Just plug that connector back in. It's really just easy plug and play. Make sure that your wires aren't going to get pinched in with this stuff here at all, and just line it up and just give it a quick shove and it'll pop right back into place. Then we'll tighten up the bolts and we'll be done here.